Ladies and gents, welcome to another episode of The Grit Theory. We are so glad you found us today.
This is John Mayo with Aaron Robinson, and we are thrilled that you are joining us as we explore how challenge and adversity can be changed into opportunity.
And don't forget, if you like what you hear today, please subscribe, share with your friends, and we love your comments.
So without further ado, let's jump right into another episode of The Grit Theory.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to a very special edition of The Grit Theory. We are actually going to do a slight departure from what we typically do, John, and we're going to look at a particular instance and kind of pause for a minute to really dig into a kind of a specific narrative that you're dealing with right now. We're actually going to be talking with John Mayo this morning, but we're going to look into this what he's kind of hinted at, this 100-day challenge, and what came of it. We kind of hit a wall this last week in just John and I discussion. I feel like some real nuggets came out of that conversation. And John, you've also decided just in the intensity of the moment, just another day. And we've all had these, and I think I'm really glad that you pressed pause for a minute and said, I need to articulate this through penning this out. And you wrote out this is what I'm thinking, this is what I'm feeling, this is what I'm learning about this, sort of a journal entry this morning. And what we're going to be doing is actually taking about 10 minutes or so of spoken word of just what he actually penned out. And then, as needed, we may stop and just talk about that a little bit more. We're just going to kind of see how it goes, but really want you to listen to this, guys, and gals out there, because I think when I heard this for the first time, it reminded me of a pause that we all have, but sometimes we just don't take the time to really think about it and let it affect us. And so some of the things I think in this narrative did that. So John, what I'm going to do, well, first of all, good morning. I haven't heard your voice. Are you there, John? You're there.
I'm here.
Okay, John is here. Aaron's just speaking into the wind right now. But
Yeah.
How you doing, by the way?
Doing good, man. We had a good start.
Yeah, we did. We wanted to record this morning, and it's early, but we still wanted to get a little gym time in. And so it was like 30 minutes of very intense go, 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 go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How's picking up that glass of water?
It hurts.
Good. I'm also in pain. So
you just love it right at the end when the lightest thing is, it doesn't matter. You're done. You're absolutely spent. So that was a fun little jaunt.
It was a good way to get the blood going for sure.
Yeah.
So, excited about our new recording studio setup also. So we'll see how it goes.
I do like this. This is a nice little environment.
So if you can't see, we basically doubled our table space to accommodate additional guests, right?
Yep.
And cleaned up the wire nest.
I do love seeing that vacancy at the end of the table. Like that to me is potential. Like who's going to be in the seat next?
Yeah. I
can't wait to just talk to the next person. So
absolutely. So how do you want to do this?
Okay. So John, what I'm going to do is if you have it all teed up here, we're just gonna go ahead and I just want you to speak it out, and we'll see how we want to talk through this. Okay.
Okay. Sounds
all right,
good.
John. So I present to you John Mayo's journey on the 100-day challenge, which became a new story.
All right. So without further ado, let's just jump in and see how it flows. So. All right, the Winter 55 was a grueling winter gauntlet of daily 5K runs and 10,000-pound lifts. It spanned through the bulk of the winter season, starting immediately after Christmas and pushing until late February. It endured multiple storms, snowfalls, and blizzards, not to mention the coldest days in Colorado history, all the way down to negative 10 degrees Fahrenheit when executing the challenge. I successfully finished these 55 days, resulting in over 255 kilometers run and over 550,000 pounds lifted. And you, Aaron, were there for a good chunk of those. The Winter 55 is part of a bigger picture, which is the 100-day challenge that I created to push myself. The goal in undertaking such an endeavor through the fickle Rocky Mountain winter is as follows. 1, to reap the benefits of 100 days of disciplined consistency. 2, I wanted to grow stronger physically and mentally. 3, to untap new levels of ability and to challenge myself to rethink what I'm capable of. And 4, the primary tool was to complete a minimum of one 5K run a day and 10,000 plus pounds lifted. This challenge is the culminating result of a couple of other challenges that we've done together and separately. Those challenges are 21-day challenges that have all been successfully completed. Each one upped the stakes to further push me to my limit and create a more capable man. In the 30 or so days leading up to the 100-day challenge, I completed just as many 5K runs. On day 1 of the 100-day challenge, I was experiencing pain in my heels and ankles, which I assumed was a natural part of my body adapting to running. Again, after a couple of years of little to no running over 1 mile. I was wrong. Over the past 55 days, I've not taken a single step that has not been in pain. Pain that I had learned is the result of severe tendinitis in both of my Achilles tendons. The pain culminated around day 40 in a manner that almost caused me to quit. I had grown desperate and was looking for any way out of the challenge, out of the grind, and away from the pain. Upon waking, I could barely stand, much less walk. It took a full hour to get to the point where I could walk swiftly or jog. An hour I spent in the dark before my run, willing the tendons to warm up and shut up. Thankfully, some of my closest friends offered support and encouragement, and based on their recommendations, I went to a running store where they analyzed foot strike, running form, and other personal metrics to prescribe the ideal shoe to help aid in the healing process. They also urged me to stop the challenge, to reassess, to go back to the lab. I refused. There's too much quit in me, and I knew it. Plus, I hated the idea of going back to the lab. Such a sterile and cold way to view the mindset shifts and adjustments I knew needed to be made, but was unwilling to face. First, I knew I needed to kill the quit. I needed to give the shoes a chance, adjust my pace, focus on low-weight, high-rep lifts to see if there's any way to heal through the tendinitis and continue the challenge without significant adjustment. Things appeared to begin to improve, but my runs grew slower, and my lifts stopped producing strength as I worked to fortify my body to recover through the injury and not risk snapping a tendon. On day 53, I pushed myself, barely faster than my recovery pace. I lifted, only to my mid-range working weight. I felt good. I hoped that maybe I was on the mend. Day 54, I woke up and noticed how the pain had doubled, yet angrily did the same. We were actually together on day 54. Day 55, I woke up once again and could barely stand. I slowly hobbled upstairs, my body exhausted and beat, put on my clothes, and hit the road. I knew that morning leaving the house it would be my last run. I knew it would be the last day of the 100-day challenge as I had originally set it. I had to go at least 10 days beyond the new shoes to see if things were recovering, and I was worse than I was at any point before. I barely finished the 5K run, much less the lift that day. It was at this moment the light switched on. As I was limping my way along the road, rage filled my body and everything became clear. Long ago, I had learned to face my mortality, to face the ease with which I could die. But I have never needed to face my own physical frailty, a persistent weakness that could not be pushed through in one consistent go. My body simply would not heal in time for me to continue the climb. The tendons were simply not strong enough. I could sense that they were close to tearing, to exploding, and likely still are. I realized that this is an injury, not just fatigue, and I had to adjust, or I'd be forced to adjust by a more severe injury that I cannot afford.
Okay. So John, before you get to the end of that, we talk about often no quit, never quit, never surrender, right? The old Churchill kind of like go get them. Mm-hmm. And this is you coming up against a quit scenario. Now, you're going to frame that differently than just quitting. Mm-hmm. But someone is hearing this, and there, I would say there's kind of two types of people. There's one that kind of say, oh, good, I need the validation for quitting. Anyway, that's kind of I need an out, this is hard. And we all have to face that at some point. I'm talking about like you are able to do it, and you can continue to do it. And then there's this, like, there's something actually where it's, you cannot. There's something stopping you from doing this. And in this case, it was a physical limitation. Mm-hmm. And you could have just said, no quit, no quit, no quit until something snaps. Is that wise? Is that the right thing to do?
Mm-hmm.
And then, secondly, what is it that you're really trying to accomplish needs to be assessed. And I know you're going to get into this at the end here, but you had a plan by which you were trying to accomplish a goal.
Mm-hmm.
The plan is failing at this point.
Correct.
Right? We can no longer continue with this plan, or you're actually going to ultimately fail at achieving the target.
Yeah.
So now you now have to, these are the hard questions. These are the core questions we have to ask ourselves when we're doing anything. Why am I really doing this? What target am I trying to hit? A plan can change. You can abandon a plan if it's not working correctly. We've all done construction projects or work tasks, and there's 100 ways to get that thing done. The first plan is likely, oftentimes, not the correct one, and you might have to adjust it to make the right plan. So you are now about to really be honest about what target I'm trying to achieve, and then also be okay with the plan not working. And how do I adjust the plan?
Yeah.
Do you want to comment to that, or you want to continue reading? Your choice.
A really short comment.
Yeah.
And then we can continue reading and then comment once it's all out. Is the plan should not be worth more than the reward that it was set up to accomplish.
That's good.
Right.
Yep.
And I think that's something I just had to come to grips with is
right.
These were tools to accomplish the original goal. They weren't the goal itself.
Yep.
And they were the plan to achieve the goal. Just, like a hammer to put a nail in a piece of wood. And when I got a box of screws instead of nails, I needed to adjust my tool set. Right.
Well, and there were other, and there were other warnings too. It was like, the pain is one thing, but you'd mentioned your wife is like saying, "Hey, John, you need to think about this." And not that every friend around us is the right voice, but in this case, if your wife's like asking questions like that, you need to pause. Be like, I need to get out of my own head for a minute.
If those closest to you are saying, "I think you're being dumb," I'm going to pick you up on the side of the road if you don't stop.
Yes.
That's not a good... Probably should think.
Someone told me so, like that. The reason for having more good friends is so that you make less mistakes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Either by watching theirs or them by keeping you from your own. So,
anyway. And as we jump back in, I just think I had to get to the point where I knew inside that I wasn't quitting prematurely.
Right.
A plan. I needed to exhaust that before I was able to say, okay, let's readjust to win the ultimate day. Right.
Yep.
Do you want me to jump back in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's finish up.
So, a more severe injury that I cannot afford. So our bodies are frail, fickle things. Our minds look for comfort and security, but our spirits yearn to soar. Something had changed over the last 15 days. The quit is gone. Snuffed out on the side of the road, crushed in the gym, and extinguished by the flame that filled my chest and burned it out of my being. Now I looked at myself with an almost out-of-body perspective and realized that I had journeyed to a fork in the road. I could choose to stay the course, push through the pain without paying attention, and every day risk a critical injury while also watching my strength fade away and spending my days in pain born from the inflamed tendons. Or I could face my frailty and overcome the obstacle presented to me. My goal in the 100-day challenge is to reap the benefits of disciplined consistency, to grow stronger, to unlock new levels of potential and capability, not to break myself stubbornly and foolishly. Here on the open country roads and in my cold, iron-laden gym, there are no medical professionals or instructors to give me an out. It is up to me to determine the right path ahead or to allow injury to force me off the path. I refuse to leave the path. So, back to the forge I've gone, an analogy I relate to so much more strongly than the sterile lab. When a sword is made, it is heated to a red-hot glow, beaten into shape, and plunged into icy water to give it strength. Through smoke, searing heat, and 1,000 hammer blows, something of value is created from the lump of iron or steel. The forge is my workspace, the place I go to shape myself and my future. It is here that I cleave off the worthless bits and burn out the imperfections. It is the metaphorical forge that I have reassessed the material that I am working with, and am adjusting the design of the tool that I wish to create in my body and mind. So, the first 55 days, now called the Winter 55, are done. But the challenge is far from over. I will continue to shape myself into something of greater value, day by day, hammerful by hammerful. The challenge will continue with the majority of the original goal intact and the following adjustments made. 1, to reap the benefits of 100 days of discipline consistency. 2, to grow stronger physically and mentally. 3, to untap new levels of ability and challenge myself. 4, to learn to adapt and obliterate limitations when they reveal themselves at cost of achieving the ultimate goal. 5, to complete at minimum 10,000 pounds lifted and all necessary movements to heal my legs. 6, to conquer the mornings and either wake up at 4:30 a.m. daily or sleep for 4 hours and 30 minutes when I'm unable to bed down by midnight. The Winter 55 has taught me a lot. It has caused me to view a 20-degree Fahrenheit morning as pleasantly warm and to appreciate the beauty of the empty countryside as it transitions from night to dawn. It has forced me to face my own frailty and taught me to outthink that which I cannot outwill. The quit is now far from me, and I feel alive, every nerve on fire as I set my sights on the new path forward. I've gone back to the forge, created an improved tool for myself and in myself, and it is time to put it to the test.
John, well done. Well spoken. You have not failed. You stopped a plan. That's important to make that distinction, right? I want to say bravo, by the way. I mean, 55 days of consistency of a plan is pretty incredible. In fact, for a plan to last that long that's pretty awesome there. The plan began failing a little earlier than that, and you had to come to terms with that. You probably might have stopped a little earlier in just the plan, but you learned something in this, right? Mm-hmm. And then you made a new list. Say, look, I'm not getting off the road. You know, I may have a sprained ankle, but I'm just going to do crutches. I got to get to the goal. It's that important to you, right? To get it done. So first, awesome for that. But a couple nuggets I just want to point out there. I like that you use that term, the forge, right? So when we talk about, because that was a change moment for you. You had to adjust your mind, but it wasn't a easy, bending pewter, kind of thing, right? It's like you had to bang it out of you. It was like, I like that analogy. Tell me, when you think forge, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, when I think forge, I think of it in like a very literal sense, right? There's a lot of analogies, like going back to the drawing board, right? Going back to the lab, but the forge just connects with me because it's raw, right? And you can create incredible things out of it, but if you've ever done any metalworking, you are dripping sweat, seared by the heat of that forge, right?
Yeah.
You are beating with a heavy hammer, blow after blow, the shape that you want into something.
Yep.
And strengthening the metal in the cool off session at the end if you're curing it, or you putting it back in the heat to continue beating it, right? But it's this very involved
and violent, almost kind of process.
There's a rawness to it, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're not fine tweaking something.
No.
It's
aggressive.
You may be making small, minute adjustments, but it is not from a lack of passion or skill or willingness. You're still hitting it with the bloody hammer.
Absolutely. It's been written, as iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. And like that word picture for me is violent.
Yeah.
It's like it's two swords hitting each other, but ultimately the end result is sharp. It's a sharp tool. It's useful.
Well, if anyone's ever sharpened a kitchen knife, they'll notice the shavings of metal, right?
Yeah.
That are on the counter when they're done, or on the ground. When you're working with metal, there's a violence. It's not a calm, comforting thing, right?
No.
It's harsh adjustment to get to the desired state, right?
Well, and if it's shrapnel on the ground, then it's almost like something's leaving you as well.
Yeah.
You're not just reworking the materials. Some things need to go.
I think a lot needs to go. In myself, I think there's probably about 10% of something worth maintaining. Yeah. And the other 90%, like my life goal is to burn that out, cut it off.
That's right.
And bring out the 10%.
Yeah. That's cool. That's cool. But you don't really know until you get into the intensity and find out what the draw is that needs to be taken off the top, as you talk about a refiner's type mentality. But yeah.
Well, and that's where like these challenges have become so important.
Yeah.
You learn a lot about yourself when you're consistently going up against something difficult without an out.
Yep.
And it's self-inflicted all the more.
So the first is the forge. The second was ditch the plan, not the target.
Yeah, I love that.
So when you rework that at the end, that was you like, hey, the target is not going away, and whatever challenge it is you have, if it was important when you started, why would it stop being important? It's more the idea that how you're going to get it done, right? And that should be revisited often. If the plan is failing, then don't quit. It's the target doesn't go away, and we've talked about that. I think last time is that that feeling of failure when you quit something is way worse than if you just stick to it and go through the drudgery of getting it done. But if you have the wrong plan, don't be miserable in that. Figure out a new way to get it done.
Yeah, and I think there's a big shift from the day like 40 mark where I was wanting it out, and at that point I knew I just wanted to stop. Like everything had climaxed to a point where it's like, okay, I could take 2 weeks off, do barely anything, and then start climbing again and healing. And that's the path I wanted to take, and that's what I refused. Like I knew I couldn't yet because I wasn't looking to refine the plan. I was looking to stop. Mm-hmm. I was looking to genuinely quit. Mm-hmm. Right. And that was the biggest shift when, this last week I readjusted the plan. The shift was, all right, I'm not quitting anything. I have to stop the run because there's a difference from pushing through fatigue and pain. There's a significant difference between pushing through that and pushing into an injury and causing a potential lifelong injury or the need for surgery or something more significant.
Yeah.
And what a loss, right? What would I have learned if I had snapped a tendon 10 days from now because I didn't adjust?
Yeah.
The conversation would be, I should have adjusted.
That's so good.
And then there would be nothing. The 100-day challenge would fail.
Yep.
Right?
That's right.
But in adjusting it, it didn't. And that was the coolest thing because I pushed past the excuses of, I should probably stop. I confirmed, no, I need to adjust.
Yep.
And there wasn't a fiber in my being that was like, in this adjustment, I'm going to take a day off. Mm-hmm. That was the shift for me, right? Mm-hmm. It's like when I created this, the tool to see what would happen in 100 days was these two exercises, right? Mm-hmm. And that's what I care about. I want to see what the value of 100 days of consistency in, more menial physical ways, what that will produce in the rest of my life. And like, it's fun to look. We started the podcast during this challenge. Mm-hmm. As an example.
Yep.
And it's one of many things. So it's definitely worth not walking away from.
Absolutely. John, I love, as we were visiting it as, as you're getting into pain too, where like you were apologizing for, you can't go as fast. You couldn't dig. You couldn't push like you wanted to. Like it was there. It was all in you mentally, but your body was like, nope, it's not going to happen. And I remember just telling you, it's like, John, that's not why we're doing this. Like you told me why we're doing it. If you had told me, Aaron, I have to get a certain time every time, that's fine. We'll push it. Unless there's an injury, we got to talk about that. But when you say, I'm just trying to be consistent, it's like, well, good. Then we showed up, mission accomplished. Mm-hmm. We did it. So why feel bad about that? You did it.
Yeah, that was something I had to really get a hold of too. And I realized pride had sucked and like started to seep in there, man. It had started to sneak in. And that was one of the things I had to be like, well, pride rhymes with foolishness. Right. And that is being evident. We can't afford to quit this, right?
Yeah. That's right.
And I realized I started to like the sexiness of 500 kilometers ran. I started to like the sexiness of 1 million pounds lifted, which will still be accomplished. But and I realized like there's this older part of myself from my past where I started to mix what the original intent and goal was with this kind of machismo aspect of I'm in a situation I can't afford to adjust.
Yep.
And that combined with I don't want to deal with the ramifications of adjustment.
Oh, yeah.
And, facing those head on made me realize, well, no one's else is out here with me every day. This is the goal from the onset was for the consistency, not the run.
Yep.
Right. Not for the lift. Those were just the tools. And
you didn't need the brag.
Yeah.
The brag wasn't important.
The brag?
That's in the wind. You'd say it. A few people are maybe impressed by you. But the mental is what you're really going for.
Yeah. And I had to remind myself of that.
Yeah.
I really did, because you just get into this rhythm and you start getting, you start thinking about yourself a certain way. And I was like, well, I'm not invincible. I knew that on a life and death thing. I didn't realize, I had to sink in a new level on a more injury, physical limitation while living.
You're right.
It's harder to be alive, right?
Yeah.
And continue forward. So, facing all that, it was a good adjustment of, well, I need to silence the pride. I need to look at this at its original intent. Mm-hmm. I need to make the healthy adjustment, and I need to make sure it's staying hard for myself still.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. I'm glad you stopped to, you adjusted it and realized it's more about the consistency than just being super potent about something, Mm-hmm. I heard funny. Here's some dating advice for you, or marriage advice. I was at a conference and the speaker said, okay, ladies, what would you rather have? Would you rather have a dozen roses once a month, or a rose every day for 12 days? And all of them said the rose every day, right? It was, for them, it's about every day he's showing up, not just being great for a minute, like a bottle rocket, And those pauses when we have to readjust the plan is saying, look, who do I want to be every day, not just right now? Because you don't want your story to be like, I used to be something great and now you're done.
Yeah. And it reminds me of a quote I'm struggling to remember the source of. I can't remember if it was a leader from the World War II period or someone from more like Stoic thought, from back in the day. But essentially, its excellence is disciplined habit or disciplined consistency.
Yep.
Right. Excellence is 1,000 actions, not one.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. And to your point, it's like the roses or the daily thing. It's I'm thinking about this thing of value and investing in it consistently over time. Yeah. Right. If I take 10,000 gallons of water and have a young tree and I dump all 10,000 gallons on it,
yeah,
I'll probably kill the tree.
Right.
Especially if it's an animal, right? It will drown. But if I save that 10,000 and give it what it needs daily for 10,000 days, I'll have a large oak or whatever the thing is will grow and prosper.
Yes.
And there's something to that.
Yeah, and you got to keep that. Once it transforms you, that's you every day.
Yeah.
And that's the journey, really. You're like, I'm trying to change my mindset about how I look at everything. I want to be very integrous about what I do. I don't want to be like this one person on Monday and a different person on Friday. Like every day, I want to think the same way, do the right things, and then you can adjust daily habits that way. It's like, well, maybe the daily thing I'm doing is not good, but if it's an honorable thing, and it serves those around you, and you could just cement that by being consistent. What a gift! You got to keep that the rest of your life.
Yeah, absolutely. And looking at this, it's been really interesting because today's day 59. So it's been 4 days since the adjustment's been made, and I'm still sore. We're still getting after it. I'm force functioning more time in the morning. So like on those levels, it's really good. But I shared the article or the journal entry, whatever, with just 3 people, just sanity check. Like, is this something that should even be shared in any context ever, or should I light it on fire? Right. And every one of them in their own words said, what's really cool is the fact that you're doing this consistently. Like every day you're showing up. Mm-hmm. That's the thing that, at least for those who are really close to me that read this, are like, that's where the value is, right? And you just said that too. It's none of the rest of it matters. It's what's going to happen from the daily hammering, from the daily steps, layer by layer, right? And one thing I do just want to give a little shout out on, because it absolutely blew me away, and I'm excited to see how it goes, right?
Are you going to say what I think you're going to say? The little brag about...
Yeah.
Okay, before you say this is so cool. How redemptive was this? So you're in your humility, John. Something was reborn, or awakened, because you just told me this morning. This is so cool. I can't wait, for you guys to hear this. But that you had to come to the end of yourself and be honest about it. Like, you didn't internalize that. You actually said to people who were closest to, "Hey, here's where I'm at. Man, I'm so mad. This is difficult." All the things that you go through, kind of thing. And then someone very special picked up on that and responded.
Yeah. And one of the people I read it to was my wife. And, this decision was an emotional one for me because I tied a lot into it, right? And I still do.
Yeah.
This is formative. I know that if I stop, that will form me, right? So it's been a deep investment and emotionally taxing and a full human experience, right?
Yeah.
So the first person I shared it with was actually my wife, Lindsey, and I read it to her, and I was facing my screen and it was against the wall and she was behind me. So I didn't look at her, but I didn't realize it affected her as well. And I was embarrassed reading it. So I didn't want to look behind and see what she was like, look at me like I'm crazy or something. But we talked about it. I read it. I was like, yeah, so what do you think? She's like, yeah, it's good. And she walked out of the room. I was like, okay.
Not
cool.
knowing what's going on in her head. And she's is she more of an internal processor, or is
my goodness. I'm a verbal dude. Like, hey, let's mash this out.
Right.
I can say something to her. I won't know until she's ready. It could be months. Could be hours, could be months. If it was a positive or negative experience for her. And that is a whole separate conversation. But so she walks out. I'm like, well, she said it was good. I've learned I need to just trust what she says. She'll tell me if she doesn't like it.
Yeah.
Right. About 40 minutes later, I get a picture and text from her. And she has an Apple Watch, and it says 3.22 miles ran in the time. And in the text, it says, picking up what you were unable to finish, this will not go unfinished.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
We will finish this together.
What did that do to you, seeing that?
I mean, honestly, the same thing it does when I say it, right? Like, it really hit me. Like, I was like, how cool. And
the Viking broke down,
I broke.
Oh, wow.
And my bride, right, who's a warrior of herself, was like, well, that is what marriage is.
Yes.
It's not just on you. And where you failed here or you couldn't continue this one aspect, it's not going to go unfinished.
No.
And
wow.
I think that's such a fun segue to a conversation on the value of marriage.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Because the person closest to me, right? Her and I are each other's completion. Without request, without me understanding. I thought she thought I was crazy in reading it. I knew she was mad at me for continuing to push through the injury because she saw the state I was in when I'd get up and stuff. No, she's like, this is not going unfinished. And we're in this together. I was like, whoa.
And John, like, how dare we think that we're on the journey alone when we have shared these stories with those closest to us, especially our wives.
Yeah.
I've forgotten that my wife is my biggest cheerleader. And when I forget that she's also in pain when I'm in pain, we need to open our eyes to that. Like, we're thinking we're all alone in this thing, which is a gigantic lie. When you have people that love you, they're on it with you. They're on the run, and she's literally on the run
now
with you. She's like, hey, let me help you. I want to support you in this.
Well, and it's interesting too, because I realized unwittingly I was being selfish, right? What I've been doing has been affecting her. We've sacrificed our mornings together for these challenges and these other things. And she's watched me wince and be in pain and the highs and the lows of every day seeing this. And I don't know how it's affecting her because my focus has been elsewhere. So when she did that, and I don't know how to reconcile this yet, but I want to understand better, her thought process and interactions with this and what it's meant to her and why in the heck she decided I'm going to pick up this torch and keep the running going. And I look forward in the future to having that conversation, having her potentially with us, and look at this in retrospect when the whole 100 days is done. I think would be really cool.
Absolutely, man. What a cool story that is. I think that was so redemptive in all this. Certainly you're working on your own internal, but it externally is affecting you, and it's amazing. I think we need to. One of the challenges we need to be thinking about, just remember, when you quit on something or when you continue to do something, it will affect people around you. Don't believe the lie that, if I quit, this is only me. If you have people around you, it's absolutely affecting them. If they really care about you, don't be a arrogant internal jerk, understand that, be compassionate about those around you. And they really do want you to understand how much they care about you.
Well, and I think there's something to pull on a little bit more there. In one of our previous conversations, we talked about how we are the products of consistency, period. Whether that's good or bad, doesn't matter.
Yep.
If we eat 5 pounds of Twinkies every day, we will
look like a guy who eats 5 pounds of Twinkies a day.
Correct. We will be a product of that consistency, right? And if we do something different, whatever we do consistently, we will become a product of our.
Right.
It's kind of like you are what you eat, or things like that.
Garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah. We will do that. But what you're touching on is not only are we a product of consistency, but we are going to lift up or pull down those close to us by what we are.
Yep.
So if I'm going to consistently do something and not quit, that's going to inspire and be an example to my wife, my sons, my friends, and myself, right? Obviously. But the important thing is, wow, I should probably be a little bit less self-centered and selfish and look at this as to how is it affecting other people.
Yeah.
If it's setting an example for my children to become men of character who look at challenge and adversity, difficulty, and things that aren't good and say, yeah, another day, let's push through, then that's a good thing.
Yeah.
If it's not doing that, then I need to readjust it. And that was one of the things that was also a turning key for me, is if one of my sons was doing this challenge, right? Because like my oldest, 7 years old, ran his first 5K on one of these days, and my youngest, a 4-year-old, did his first mile plus. So they're definitely watching and observing. And if they were in the position I was in, I would be very firmly telling them to readjust and reattack. And I was like, well, I need to look at this from other perspectives and step out of that also.
That's Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life. He says that treat yourself like someone else you're taking care of.
Yeah.
So you kind of get out of your own head for a second. It's like, what if you're watching someone, and how would you want to care for them, support them? And I believe if your son said he wanted to do something, you wouldn't let him quit. But if the plan was killing him, you'd be like, okay, let's figure out a new way to get this done.
Well, we even see it in the gym, you and me, right?
Yeah.
Like if you have an injury you're nursing, I'm not saying push through it. Put 100 more pounds on and break yourself.
Don't quit. Yeah.
Like I'm saying, well, Aaron, let's smoke ourselves.
Yeah.
Let's get growth, but not at the cost of further injuring that. So if we need to drop weight, increase reps, change the movement entirely, that's what we're going to do. And I was foolishly not taking my own advice.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, good. Well, and that's what the importance of friendship around us.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so thanks for sharing that, John. I think that's just one of those, like, hey, if you feel like you're beating yourself up over having to quit a plan, I just encourage you, did you quit the target? And if not, if you're staying the course with the target, bravo. We applaud what you're doing. Absolutely. And there is no mocking of someone who has to adjust course. That's those type of people, get them out of your life. If they're making fun of you for trying to accomplish something and you had to change course. The friends you should keep around you say, hey, I don't want you to kill yourself, but at the same time, I understand this is important to you. How can I partner with you to continue to help you run in the metaphorical sense, right?
I don't want you to break yourself, but I'm not trying to make this easier for you.
Yeah.
How do we successfully finish this?
Yep.
Right. And I don't know, the two things I took away, and I hope kind of show forth, right? Or like show through, to those who get to engage in this conversation with us is if you're on something and you're afraid that you're about to fail, that you've already started, right? Because it's not working, maybe it's an encouragement to not lose that goal, right? And to be able to readjust the tactics to accomplish it. Mm-hmm. And also, I think that especially right now, a lot of people are bound in fear to start, right? There's like a lot of frozenness of action and thought with the isolation, everything else that's going on. Mm-hmm. And I hope it's an encouragement to say, well, if the plan to get there doesn't work, I can adjust that and keep going. And maybe that reduces the fear to start also.
Yeah, that's so good. That's good, John. I think that was encouragement for everybody today. So, guys, gals, if you've heard this story, we would really like you to encourage everybody else in the community by maybe commenting on something some target that you actually were trying to accomplish. Maybe you're currently doing, and you had to change course. So by putting that comment in there and us reading that, I think all of us can be encouraged by, oh yeah, because it is a very common thing for all of us to want to achieve something, but feel like there's a lot of failure along the way. But be encouraged today. We are with you. We are running with you, and we're just hoping that you are also encouraged today by our podcast. John, any closing remarks?
Yeah, let's keep getting after it, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thanks,
John. Everyone. That was another episode of The Grit Theory. If you like what you heard, please subscribe and let us know. If you did not like what you heard, keep it to yourself.
We hope that you got at least a few nuggets that you want to share. We look forward to seeing your comments below. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Take care.